They did it. They finally won a game. First time since week 4. And they won this one pretty convincingly, honestly. 36-20. This one was over in the fourth quarter. We knew it. I mean, there was a point in the game where Alex Tanney came in, and there was a point where Javorius Allen was starting at running back. So this was a pretty nice win. Of course, the Giants had some turnovers offensively, and it wasn't the easiest game the first, 2.5, 3 quarters. But still, they got the win. That's all that matters. So feels great. I mean, it sucks looking at the big picture. Yes, you might fall back one draft spot, but I don't think they lost any position in this because they're still the number 2 pick. The Bengals lost today, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, yeah, I think the Giants are still number 2 anyway, so they didn't lose anything by winning this game. But, they haven't won a game in so long, so it feels good to win once again. I'm sure the Giants front office is very happy about finally winning, and some of these players, I'm sure, are very happy about it as well. So, I mean, just winning brings great culture. I say it all the time, but it's true. No one likes losing, so this is great for the organization, and, big picture doesn't hurt them too badly, I feel like. I don't know if they're going to get the first pick now, but it is what it is. So number 2 is fine, and let's get into this game and let's review it. So we start with Eli Manning. He was 20 of 28, 283, 2 touchdowns, 3 turnovers. That was the bad part. Saquon was 24 carries, 112 yards, 4.7 per carry, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. I believe Saquon had like 30 receiving yards as well. So he had his best game in a long time. He's starting to look healthy now, and it's definitely the Saquon we need. Unfortunately, it came this late in the season, but the guy can't help it, so it is what it is. Hopefully next year he'll be 100%. Sterling Shepard, this was his first big game in a long time since coming back from the injury. 9 receptions, 111 yards. And Golden Tate had 1 reception, but he made it count. 51-yard touchdown. That was a great throw by Eli right there. And even Darius Slayton had a touchdown as well. Didn't have a monster game yardage-wise, but still had a touchdown in there. Probably had like 40, 50 yards. So the positive. So Eli Manning's record for his career is now back at 500. I think it's 117 and 117 now, I think it is. So that's great. And I think how he played, so there were some up and downs in this game. It's kind of like the Philly game. Like there were some plays in the Eagles game from last week where you're like, wow, that was a nice throw. But then there were some plays where you're like, that's not a good decision. And that's kind of how this game went. The 2 interceptions, I mean, 2 of them, I counted as 2. I mean, the interception at the end of halftime was kind of stupid. He was just chucking it deep, looking to make a play. So I don't really count that. It's just, sometimes stats are deceiving in a way. But 2 interceptions were definitely his fault. I guess he just read the defense wrong on the short throw on like the curl route. And then the one to Latimer was just, he was forcing it. I mean, I think there was pressure on that play, but I think he was forcing that ball and just made a bad decision. But outside of that, he did make some really nice throws in this one. That throw on the run to Sterling Shepard on like the 1-yard line that was almost a touchdown was a bullet. I mean, that was the best throw I've seen Eli make in a long time. There were throws to Slayton that were long and Shepard, and even one to Slayton that was like a long pass, a deep pass to the left that he kind of just like threw in the bucket, kind of lobbed it in there. It was incomplete and called pass interference, but that was a nice throw as well. So I think Eli Manning overall had a pretty nice game, but of course the turnovers will kill you. Not in this game, but in future games they will kill you. We know that. As I mentioned, Saquon Barkley looked back to his 2018 self. If you didn't see that video of him ankle breaking that defender on the Dolphins, go and look at that. That was very amazing. So, as I said last video, I mean, people were saying he's not making cuts anymore. Well, yeah, I mean, he's making cuts. So that was very impressive. As I mentioned, Sterling Shepard was great. The first drive out of the second half was great. So, I mean, they had I think Eli Manning was 4 for 4 and 60-something yards, and they had a touchdown on that drive out of the half. I think that was the one to Slayton. So, I don't know what type of game plan Pat Shurmur called coming out of halftime, but it was terrific, and just boom, 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 and 4 catches and a touchdown. Giants get 7 points out of that, so that was great. Damari Scott, I don't know where this guy came from. I'm guessing it was practice squad or it was just picked up off waivers. He was really good on kick returns today. There was the kick return after the safety. I don't know what you call that, a safety kick return. I really don't know. It's like a punt, but his return off that was for 30-something yards, so that was a great play by him. He also had a kickoff return or a punt return for 9 yards in there as well. So I think this guy, I don't know if he's the future kick returner for this team. I mean, of course, when Jabril Peppers is back healthy, you would think it's him, but Damari Scott was a positive in this one, so I have to point it out. Javorius Allen as well, he came in the final couple drives and had one long run in there. He ran all the way to the locker room, but unfortunately it was called down to 1. He scored on the next play, so it was cool, but this is like kind of weird because Wayne Gallman, I think, has been inactive now the last 2 weeks, if I'm thinking it correctly. I don't even know, but he hasn't played in a while, Wayne Gallman, and I think he's a Jerry Reese guy, so he's as good as gone at this point. I don't think Wayne Gallman's going to be here next year, unfortunately. But look, we have Saquon. I don't think Wayne Gallman matters too much. I mean, hopefully he gets a shot somewhere else next year on a team that's running back needy. Nick Gates at right guard. So of course Kevin Zeitler didn't play in this game. I think he's probably done for the year. But Nick Gates, I don't think he was that bad in this game. I didn't watch the all 22 version, so I couldn't really see everything from him in this game. But there was never a point in this game where like the right side of the line broke down on a passing play. I feel like it always came from the left side, whether it was Solder or Hernandez. So I don't think Nick Gates played that poorly in this game. I got to say the same thing about the right tackle Remmers. So those guys did a good job, and Nick Gates filling in at right guard played well today. So the negatives I talked about, Eli Manning's decision making at some points were not good, but he's in his 16th year. He's not going to change at this point, so it is what it is. And Nate Solder was bad. So as we know, I mean, sometimes people forget that Nate Solder had some kind of ankle surgery before the training camp started. So I'm kind of hoping he's injured from that. I'm not, wishing the guy's hurt, obviously, but if there's a reason or an excuse for why Nate Solder's playing so poorly, it would make me feel better going into next year. So if we find out Nate Solder's been playing on one leg this year, or maybe he's hurt or something like that, it'll make me feel better because Nate Solder has been pushed around way too much this year. I don't know what happened. I mean, Nate Solder last year wasn't great, but he wasn't this bad. So unless he's completely declining the last 2 years, I don't think he's this bad as a player, and I hope that his injury has something to do with his poor play, but I guess we'll find out in a few weeks or so when the season's over. But yeah, that's it for the offense. Now we'll hop into the defense. So we'll start with DeAndre Baker, and I think most of us can agree he played his best game as a pro last week against the Eagles, but the Eagles really had no wide receivers that are even worth mentioning. They had guys coming off the street to play wide receiver for them. They had no Alshon, no Aguilar, no Deshaun Jackson. So, I mean, they had nobody playing for them, and he had a great game, of course. I can't take anything away from him, but this game he was against Devontae Parker most of the day, and Parker's been really a fantastic receiver all year for them, honestly. He just signed a contract extension. He's becoming a star in the NFL. So Baker, I think, did a pretty good job on him for the most part. There was a play in the first quarter where he knocked away a ball in the end zone for Parker, a couple slant patterns as well that he disrupted, and of course Parker had a garbage time touchdown on him, but it is what it is. I think Baker could have had better position on that ball, but it's not the end of the world, so it is what it is. I think Baker had I would say an up and down game, but I would say there was more good than bad in this one, so it's definitely a step in the right direction still. Dalvin Tomlinson, I think, deserves a contract extension soon, so I think he has one more year left on his rookie deal. This guy's one of the last few Jerry Reese picks at this point, and I think he deserves an extension. I mean, he plays every game. He's always there to stop the run, and he's came up big on a lot of fourth downs this year. He was big on the fourth down stop today. I think back to that New England game with Sony Michel on the Patriots' first drive. He stopped him as well. So, I mean, this guy's always coming up big for us, and I like Dalvin Tomlinson. The thing is, though, they have Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, even RJ McIntosh. There's a lot of guys that play the same position as Tomlinson, so we'll see what they do with him in the offseason. I don't know how much money they want to give another defensive tackle. I feel like they might choose between him or Leonard Williams, and I really don't know where they're going to go, but it really depends on who the GM is, obviously. If it's still Gettleman, he might side with Leonard Williams because that was his trade, and Dalvin Tomlinson's not his draft pick, but we'll see what happens in the future. So the run defense was good again. All those guys I just mentioned did a good job. The Dolphins don't have a run game. I mean, they might be the worst running team in the NFL. I heard today that Ryan Fitzpatrick on the broadcast is their leading rusher this year, so that'll tell you all you need to know about the Dolphins running. I mean, they traded Kenyon Drake. They had someone who got arrested. What was the dude's name? Mark Walton. Mark Walton got arrested or suspended or something, so he's gone. They had him, Kenyon Drake, and who else? Kalen Ballage is not good, and Patrick Laird. So yeah, they don't have a great running game, obviously, but the run defense today was pretty good. I think this rookie Myles Gaskin came in at the end. He had a nice run at one point, but that was in garbage time as well. So it is what it is. And yeah, I mean, there was good pressure on passing plays by guys like Marcus Golden, Lorenzo Carter, and Leonard Williams. Even O'Shane Ximines got in there. I think RJ McIntosh had a sack as well. So all those guys got involved with the pass rush today, so that was good to see. And the safety by Sam Beal, so that was a nice play. Once again, it was a running play by the Dolphins. And I don't know what the Dolphins were doing with their play calling. They had a couple. There was a 4th and 1 play where they were close. They were in the red zone, and they called a running play up the middle. That was blown up by Dalvin Tomlinson. And then they had that safety in the end zone. I don't know what they were doing, honestly. I feel like that was not the right play call for that particular time. It just makes no sense. Like, if I was the Dolphins, like, offensive coordinator today, I would have thrown the ball like 60 times. I mean, the Giants' pass defense is their weakness. If you watch the Giants' last 5-6 games since getting Leonard Williams, their run defense has been really good, and you don't have a running game as the Dolphins. So I feel like they should have passed the ball more, but, that's whatever. That's their problem. So, safety by Sam Beal, nice play by him. Good to see that. Alec Ogletree, can't stand them. I mean, we see this week after week. There were times in this game where Ryan Fitzpatrick was making like cuts on Ogletree and making him miss. I mean, it was that bad. So, I mean, this guy can't play at this level. I mean, I don't know why he's here anymore. It's only because he's making a crap ton of money, and I think Gettleman would look bad by releasing him. But hopefully during this offseason, he actually makes that move and releases him. I mean, David Mayo's not the answer as well. Deion Buchanan's not the answer. So, I mean, they need linebackers on this team. I feel like if they had good linebackers on this team, this defense would be a lot better. So I don't think it would be an elite defense. Their secondary still has a lot of issues. They don't have the alpha pass rusher that you need. But still, at the end of the day, if they had good linebackers or inside linebackers, this team would be in a better spot. But unfortunately, that's not the case right now. So, missed tackles by Ogletree. Julian Love had one on Albert Wilson. I talked about Albert Wilson on Twitter, actually. I mean, this guy would have been like the next Golden Tate if he didn't sustain so many injuries. He's really good with the ball in his hands, the yards after catch, all that kind of stuff. So I don't really blame Love too much. It was one play, but he gained like an extra 20, 25 yards on that play. And Corey Ballantyne had a couple in there as well. So I'm sure I'm missing some. I think Antoine Bethea had one. Forget who had the ball at that point, but I think Bethea missed a tackle as well. So, yeah, it wasn't terrible defensively. Of course, the Dolphins don't have an explosive offense and stuff like that, so this was going to be a game on the easier side, and the Giants held them to 20 points, so it's not the end of the world. Eli Manning had a couple interceptions that hurt the field position as well. So, I mean, I think the defense did pretty well for the most part, and they were able to get to Ryan Fitzpatrick. He got out of a lot of sticky situations as well, or plays where that would break down, and he would just run for like first down. So, I mean, you can't hold that against the defense, but they were getting pressure at least. So, general notes from this game, or for the Giants in general, I should say, Janoris Jenkins' situation. So, of course, he was cut. I don't know what day it was. I feel like Thursday, Friday, whatever the hell it was. So, he was cut. And at first, it did annoy me because the trade deadline was just, 4 weeks ago, whatever it was. And there were rumors the Giants were trying to trade him. I still believe they were going to try to trade him. I think that was like what their plan was. But then they didn't trade him. And, I feel like there's probably got to be a team out there in playoff contention that offered at least a 6th-round pick for Janoris Jenkins. And I'm not saying he's worth a 6th-round pick, but take anything for the guy. I mean, get yourself a draft asset. This is a rebuilding team. So it annoyed me that they don't trade him and then they cut him a month later. Think what you want about Janoris Jenkins. I know he's a little, you get it. But at the end of the day, he's still a pretty good corner in this league. I know he's 31 years old now. He has a lot of money tied into him. But look, if a team traded for him, a lot of people don't understand this. If a team traded for Janoris Jenkins, they can cut him next year, and it'll only go against them for $3.5 million in their dead cap space. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if a competing team traded for Janoris Jenkins. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you could have got a 5th or a 6th-round pick for a guy like Janoris, you probably should have done it a month ago, and the Giants just outright cut him for nothing. So that kind of annoyed me. And if you were one, inappropriate tweet away from cutting the guy, you should have just traded him, So it kind of annoyed me. It kind of annoyed me from that standpoint, but it probably improves the culture. I mean, Gettleman and the Giants are huge on culture, so I guess it improves the culture. At the same time, I want to thank Janoris Jenkins for, a very tremendous 2016 season. I think people forget about, how dominant he was that year. So he was great. And, the last few years, the Giants' record was not where it should have been. And the guy took some plays off and made some business decisions. And look, I can't really blame the guy completely. He had a terrible game against Tampa in week 3, I think it was. So yeah, he has ups and downs, but I think for the most part, Janoris Jenkins was a solid player for this team for like 3 years or 3.5 years, whatever it was. So I thank him for that. So this team, as I said, desperately needs inside linebackers. I kind of mentioned it before. I feel like this defense would be a lot better. And does this win save Shermer or Gettleman? So there was that funny video on Twitter from someone named Will who was like heckling Gettleman at the game. I probably retweeted it, so go look on my Twitter if you haven't seen it. But it's pretty funny. I mean, Gettleman's like grinning the whole time, and this guy's like mocking his ridiculous moves as GM. But yeah, I mean, I think Gettleman, look, I mean, he looks like a guy who is content right now. I feel like he knows his job is safe, and, that's not what I want, but I guess the Giants want to give him one more year. I guess that's the most fair thing in the world. I just don't see him winning with this team. And for Pat Shurmur, I feel like, it's whatever. I think if he lost this game, I feel like there was a chance he could have been fired after today, but after the win, I think he's now safe the remaining 2 games of the year, so that's good news for him. And, for Gettleman, I don't know. I mean, you guys know how I feel about him. I would rather have a new GM in here because chances are the Giants are going to fire their head coach this year, and then you have Gettleman for one more year. And if Gettleman sucks next year, if the Giants suck once again next year, Gettleman's out, and then you have a new head coach who is not tied with the GM. So it wouldn't make sense to me. I feel like those two should be tied together. I've definitely stood pat on that, on that aspect of the Giants. So I think the head coach and GM should be fired and hired together. I just don't think it makes sense to do one or the other. We did it in 2015 with Tom Coughlin, and it just did not work out well. So hopefully, if they keep Gettleman, you keep Shurmur next year. If you fire Gettleman, you fire Shurmur, or vice versa. That's how I would do it. I don't want to see them in a situation where this new head coach comes in, he doesn't like Gettleman or whatever, and then Gettleman's gone, and they have to find a GM that gets along with the head coach. I mean, just do it at the same time and do this the right way, please. That's all I'm asking. So, upcoming videos. So I do have videos made up for some head coaching candidates, and then eventually I'll maybe get into GM candidates. I don't know if I want to go through that research now because I'm starting to feel like Gettleman's job is safe. But as for Shurmur, gun to my head, I think he's still fired. And I'll continue to make those videos. I have one for Kevin Stefanski already made up. I'm probably going to do it right after this, actually, so you'll see that one soon. John DiFilippo, trying to think who else. I don't know. You guys will find out. So, I mean, I'm putting some solid research into those videos, and hopefully you guys enjoy those. It seems like most people are enjoying them, so hopefully you still do. So, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I will talk to you guys next time. Hopefully we do have a film review video this week. I'm sorry I did not get to it last week. I mean, school's kind of like crazy, and Monday night games kind of throw off the whole schedule. So, I mean, forgive me for that. But, yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time, and thank you for watching.